Good morning to you and welcome to today's webinar where we're exploring the topic of how to use social media to recruit new employees. We'll be looking at how to create your online personal brand and how to use online tools to attract active and passive talent. I'm Alison Williams, Managing Editor for Workplace Info, and I'm joined today by Claire Weeks, Senior Customer Success Consultant for LinkedIn Australia. Claire, welcome.
Thank you, Alison. Thanks for the invite. It's great to be here.
As we get underway, I just want to remind you that if you have any technical issues or would like to post a question to our panelists, you can do that by typing your query into the chat box in the lower left corner of your screen. We've received a number of questions in the lead up to this webinar, and we'll get to as many of those as we can during the time we have together or as a follow-up. I'd also like to point out that the information provided to you in this webinar today is general information only, so it does not take into account your own particular work situation or your objectives and needs. Before acting on any information contained in this discussion, you should consider the appropriateness of the information having regard to your own objectives, work and financial situation and needs. So, onwards. Claire, we're living in a digital age. What does this mean for recruitment?
Thanks, Alison, and thanks everybody for joining our call today. We've got a lot to get through, specifically talking about how recruitment has been affected by our move into social and our move into digital. So just a bit of an introduction. I work as a Senior Customer Success Consultant out of LinkedIn Sydney's office, and I work completely post-sales with people that have invested with one of our talent solutions. So essentially making sure people understand how to use the LinkedIn platform and also start to see return on investment. And as we're talking today about social, and how it's influenced the talent acquisition landscape, I just want to give a bit of an agenda as to what we'll cover today. We'll be talking about the digital age of influence and how the industry that we're in has transformed over the last 5 to 10 years. We'll also touch a little bit on how to create and moderate your own online personal brand. We understand that a lot of people are often nervous about putting themselves out there and maintaining a professional facade, so we'll jump a little bit into what that looks like and some top tips of how you can monitor that activity. I'll also talk a little bit about how you can really look at the market and segment people by their job search strategy. So what does an active talent person look like, and what does a passive talent person look like? And throughout, I'll really be leveraging a flow that we work with a lot of our clients on, and that's how to build awareness, so understand your talent pool, and then start to engage them and reach out to the audience and leverage people within your existing business to help you do your job, and then essentially go on and do what you do best, so start to recruit some awesome talent. So let's take a little step back and understand what this digital age of influence is all about. Essentially, as you're probably all aware, we've seen a massive shift in how people interact with services and supplies. So before doing anything, pretty much, people jump online, they hop on the internet and they find out about it. So you're booking a holiday, you're likely to go to TripAdvisor. You're booking a hotel, you're likely to go on Yelp and see what the recommendations and pictures are like. You're interviewing for a new company, you're likely to go on LinkedIn and start to see who you know that works there and what the company's all about. So people are really interacting with information presented to them in a different way, and that's really going social and going digital and going online. And there's a ton of information available about each of us individually and our work experience and history in the companies that we work for online. So it's really being mindful about what's available out there in the public sphere for you and how we can start to influence that to tell the story that we want potential candidates to be aware of. Just a bit of an overview of what we've seen only over the last 5 to 10 years. So back in 2005, this is a bit of an image from when the Pope that stage was being inaugurated. So you can see people are watching. There's a couple of cameras in there, a couple of old school video cameras. People are actively observing and actively participating. Now, if we hop forward just 5 years from then, so let's go past there to 2013, you can see how people were interacting with the following Pope as he was inaugurated in the same location. Everybody is looking at it through their iPad, everybody is on their phone, everybody's capturing the moment electronically and sharing it with their networks. So in the space of such a short period of time, less than 10 years, the way we interact with information, the way we share information, the way we talk to our colleagues and friends has shifted. There's a bit of a journey that people go on when they start to interact with new brands, and in particular that's what we need to start to think about when we reference our own employer brand and our company information online. So people will start to go online and ask questions to their friends and colleagues. So they're really in the research stage, which is what you can see at the top of the screen here. They then start to dig a little bit deeper and they start to verify the information that they're finding. So is it from a reliable source? Are people tending to say the same thing? And as they form this mindset about the information that they're finding online, they start to engage with you. So they might start to follow your company online, or they might start to reach out to contacts within particular industries and start to find out more. What we want to do is continue the loop and close the circle and to move them to being advocates. And that's what you can really start to leverage with people in your organization at the moment. You can start getting them to spread the good word about you, start spreading your employee value proposition, and start doing your job to attract talent and bring them into your organization. Most of us on the call are probably within the HR industry, and at some stage most of us, having been in HR myself, have touched on recruitment. So maybe as a talent acquisition advisor or a recruiter or a sourcer, we're probably aware of how the recruitment industry has changed over the last 10 to 15 years. So on the screen, a bit of an example. There used to be job ads posted in Windows. We used to advertise in the newspaper, and you can certainly see some success with these models here, and definitely with the job boards that are still popular in this particular area. This essentially is going to hit that active talent pool. So people who are actively looking for a role are going to try and find out about the roles that you're hiring for. So they will be going onto job boards and searching. They'll have a CV ready to go. They'll be able to fulfill any criteria that you need. If you want them to apply by 5 p.m. on Friday, they'll be in there. So essentially, the traditional methods of recruiting were really going out to that active talent pool. So people who are really looking for something and making themselves known to you. What we need to be aware of is the passive talent pool as well. So we still want to be considering these active candidates, but if we only focus on those people, we're going to be missing great swathes of the market for people who are head down doing their job and not looking at the moment. So let's take a look at this pool of professionals. So if we think of the people who are available for work in the professional workforce, about 20% of those people at any one time are what we call active candidates. So those are the ones with the characteristics that I just mentioned. They are actively searching job boards. They're reaching out to companies to find out about opportunities within certain organizations. They will have a CV ready, and they probably can apply by 5 p.m. on Friday if that's what you need. Opposite to that are the passive candidates in the market, and LinkedIn estimates that in Australia and New Zealand about 78% of the market at any one time are passive. So these people are head down, doing their job, not looking for another move, probably compensated quite fairly, involved in some interesting project work, enjoying what they're doing and not actively seeking roles. So they won't be going to the job boards, they won't be looking at those situation vacant signs if they're still up in Windows anywhere, and they probably won't be paying attention to ads that are placed in the newspaper. So we really start to think about how to get in the mindset of the passive candidates whilst also still managing those applications that come in from the active candidates. Now, many of my clients at LinkedIn often say, well, if they're passive, why are they going to want to take a call from me, or why are they going to listen to my email? Well, the research that we've done shows that actually a lot of those people who call themselves a passive are open to hearing about additional opportunities. So they might not actively be out there and have a CV ready, but if you pick up the phone and call them, they will take that call and they will ask some more questions. And if you can pique their interest and present them with a challenging opportunity, they might start to be more interested in having that conversation ongoing. What we've discovered as social recruiting has taken off is that the mindset of a recruiter has actually shifted to become the mindset of a marketeer. So you're constantly spreading the good word about your organization and how great it is to work there. And we've come up with a couple of top tips that you can use to do that. And social media is really the platform where this keeps happening. People will start to find out about your organization, start to find out about what it's like to work there from people already in the business or who've had experience with engaging with you previously. And being able to connect with people on social media platforms means that you can keep the conversation going. So you can continue to interact and engage with those active talent, but you can also start to pique the interest of those passive people. At LinkedIn, we definitely recommend our clients use every opportunity they have to engage talent. So really engaging the business to be helping you spreading the good word of what it's like to work at your organization, but also being aware of the different social media channels that are available. So even when a candidate is passive and not interested in making a role, you can continue to present information to them that shows them how progressive you are within your industry and what an exciting place it is to do business. Now, a lot of clients that I work with don't really know where to start. And obviously, when they're creating their personal brand online, they want to start segmenting and separating themselves from maybe a Facebook or something where they're being slightly more casual. So we definitely see LinkedIn as the area where you can own your professional brand. And some people typically don't know where to start. So I thought I'd touch just for a couple of minutes on the structure of a good LinkedIn profile. And I've used my own example here, and I have to admit, I'm always constantly updating my profile and constantly advising people and reviewing other people. So I thought I'd share a couple of top tips with you here today. The first is a photo. We definitely don't suggest that everybody goes out and pays for a professional headshot. If you have one, amazing. But definitely, as long as somebody who was to meet you face-to-face at a networking event would recognize you from your LinkedIn profile, then I think you've hit the mark there. So we see all kinds of things on LinkedIn, but we probably recommend against using your Facebook profile picture or something from a Saturday night out. We see people with their dogs or at barbecues with drinks in singlets. So keep it professional and make sure you look happy and approachable, and somebody that would be approachable if you want to connect with them and start doing business with them. The next section you'll see on the right-hand side is the headline. Now, when you set up your LinkedIn profile, it will default to your job title, and that's completely fine. But what I've started to see slightly more innovative candidates do is to leverage this information to really start inputting details about what makes you special. So you can see here that I've taken out my job title and I've tried to explain in just a few sentences, a few words, what I actually do, and it gives people more of an indication. So if you're in an active recruitment role or an HR role or a talent acquisition role, you probably have started to see your own LinkedIn profile views increasing. We generally find people that are, at the coalface liaising with candidates are quite visible within businesses. So being able to really position yourself as an expert within your field is only going to help when you're starting to reach out with candidates. Another top tip for somebody who really wants to go deeper in curating their own profile is to own your vanity URL. Now you can see here that I have linkedin.com / and then my name. If you go into your edit settings area on linkedin.com, you can actually change what will be presented to you as a lot of letters and numbers after that / and start to put in your own details. So it might be first and last name, it might be first initial, last name, for example. But I've seen some clients start to put this on business cards or even on their email Outlook signature, just to start branding themselves and really owning the collateral online. Something that can be done just within the settings tab, so nice and easy if you've got a spare 30 seconds. Moving on slightly further down to your LinkedIn profile, there's the summary area. Now, your LinkedIn profile isn't just a cut and paste of your CV or your resume. It's really an area where you can start to explain what value you bring to your organization. And also, if you're in a hiring role, what kind of people you're looking for and how you can help people advance their career. So I have to admit, this took me a little while to craft, and I had a Word doc open and was reviewing the profiles of people that I thought were impressive and starting to take some top tips from them. So don't worry if you don't know where to start. Take a look at other people on linkedin.com, see how they're talking about themselves, and take some time to craft your own. One of the favorite things that's been recently released on linkedin.com is the ability to add rich media to your profile. So you can see the two screenshots at the bottom of the screen are actually links to YouTube videos that I popped onto my profile. Now, some people say, well, I've never done my own YouTube video, but you may have been involved in a presentation somewhere, you may have authored a white paper, or if you don't have any of those, I'm sure your company would have some great material that you can share within your profile. So I've got some examples from our linkedin.com blog, which I thought resonated with what I do with my clients, and also some information about social recruiting that we've taken from LinkedIn's YouTube channel. So again, you don't have to be creating this content yourself, but you can simply take it from other locations and pop it onto LinkedIn. So now we will have hopefully set up our own LinkedIn profile to be attractive and to be somewhere where candidates and potential business partners can land to find out more about yourself. So how do we start using social media and online tools to attract different talent pools? Well, there's 3 simple steps that we recommend our clients go through and those looking to make the move into social or into digital. And that's very simply build, engage, recruit. So essentially, we advise people to start building your followers and building your brand and making people aware of you within the marketplace. And then you can move on to the engage section, which is where you really start to nurture those people that are following you. So give them a reason to start following you, give them a reason to continue engaging with you. And then finally, on the right-hand side, you're going to be able to go out to recruit. So anybody within talent acquisition or sourcing or recruitment, this is what you guys do best. This is your skill set. So after the build and engage section, you can go off and do what your skill set allows you to do perfectly, which is to recruit some awesome talent. Now your journey starts with the build section, and that's what I'm going to touch on for the next couple of minutes. So here we really recommend growing your followers, and that can be on any social media platform. LinkedIn is very simple because it's people's professional area, so they're going to come there. But there's also different social media tools you can use depending on what your business and comfort level is. So you might be on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I'd love to hear from anybody who's doing anything amazing with Snapchat, because I haven't seen that tremendously. It's a personal interest area of mine. And also finally, leveraging those employees. So finding out who within your organization is on LinkedIn.com and helping them polish their profile and share the content that you're pushing out there, but also being comfortable enough to help people who aren't comfortable themselves with social maybe create their first LinkedIn profile. We definitely see that creating followers on different social media platforms helps you to be successful further down the line. And just a couple of stats that I wanted to share from some research that LinkedIn has done. So we find that our clients who reach out via what we call InMails, which is essentially LinkedIn's own proprietary email facility and allows you to connect with somebody even though you may not be a first degree connection with them, you actually get a 95%, you're 95% more likely to get a positive response if somebody that you're reaching out to is a follower of your organization. So these people have put their hands up to say that they're interested in finding out about you, and then they're more likely to engage with you when you reach out. We also find that if you have members that are followers to you, to your company, they're more likely to start sharing the information that you're pushing out through a social platform like LinkedIn. So they'll be sharing, they'll be helping it go viral, they'll be helping it reach out to more people than the immediate contacts within your first degree of connections. And finally, people who are following your organization, this statistic is specifically on LinkedIn, but I do think it resonates across the different social platforms. They're actually much more interested in finding out about job opportunities from companies they're following. So these people have put their hands up and said that they're interested in a particular organization, and that naturally feeds onto the fact that they might be interested in working for you, or at least finding out if there are any matching career opportunities that you can present to them. So how do you accelerate follower growth? Well, you need to let people know where you are. So if you do have a presence on LinkedIn, and every company can create a free company page, you need to start letting potential candidates know that you're there. So some people have started to put the little LinkedIn follow button on their email signatures or any collateral that goes out to the marketplace, and then people can simply click through and become a follower of your organization. Likewise, with anybody that you might be reaching out to who might be at interview stage or consideration stage, mentioning to them that they might want to start following your company on LinkedIn also means that they'll be constantly presented with the information that you're pushing out to the market. A big recommendation for the clients that I work with is to really leverage your own employees. So all of you are certainly within organizations where people within your company would have a LinkedIn.com profile. So how can you help them help you? So essentially, it's going to be a bit of a slow burn, so finding out who is on LinkedIn and who is comfortable with being social, and then also leveraging them to help you get a lot of other people across the business who might not have a LinkedIn.com profile online. And then also helping them craft their summary, craft their headline, make sure that they're aligned to your company in their experience section, help them update their education and their personal interests and volunteer opportunities. And some people obviously are resistant to this. They might not be comfortable with social. So really positioning it as a value add to them and thinking, well, what's in it for them? Well, they can come to LinkedIn and read our newsfeed app. They can find out what's happening in their industry. They can start to share content. They can start to connect with people that they might have worked with or are already working with. So after we've built our follower base, we're then going to start to engage with them. And once we've got these people following them, we need to give them a consistent reason to stay following us and to stay engaged with us and to start sharing the content that we're doing. So having some kind of content calendar or content strategy is really key. And the big stress that we make with our clients is really relevancy. So I've got an example screenshot here of a free company page on LinkedIn that all of you can set up for your own company. And you can put images on there, videos, rich media, SlideShare presentations, any collateral that you have to allow people to find out what it's like to be within your organization and to do business with you. Making that conversation relevant is really key. You don't want to turn off people when you've worked really, really hard to get them landing on your company page. So consistently putting out information that's not just linked to the roles that you're hiring for, but about fun stuff within your organization. Have you just won an award, or is your CEO speaking in an upcoming event, or did you do some volunteer work with a particular industry or organization on a Friday afternoon that you can start sharing content with and letting people know what it's like to do business with the organization. I mentioned earlier the importance of having a content calendar. So definitely it's essential to be consistently pushing out content to people. It doesn't have to be 5 times a day. You don't have to be in the tool consistently, but at least once a week or a couple of times a week, be pushing content out to those people so that they know it's a live, ticking organism, but also that it's relevant to what they like. You can see on the right-hand side the little share button, and we find that members on LinkedIn are 61% more likely to share information if they're a follower of your company. So a great reason to continue pushing those follower numbers up, but also encouraging people within your organization to do that sharing as well. So you'll simply see it's a little button on the right-hand side of the screen. You can click share, and the information that you're pushing out to your company page on LinkedIn will then go out to their degree of connections as well. And this is a great incentive to also spread out across different social media channels. So you might encourage shares or follows or likes on social platforms such as Instagram or Twitter, depending on where your comfort level lies. And the final stage of our 3-step process is really where you can start to reap the benefits of this hard work. And this is in that recruit section. So this is where you're going to start promoting any open jobs that you have on social platforms and also going out to proactively source the talent market. So there's different areas where you can do this, and promoting your jobs on LinkedIn will allow them to reach both the active and the passive talent pool. If we think back to 78% of people are actually passive, so they're not coming to platforms like LinkedIn to find a new job, we can generally start to surface career opportunities to people who might not be aware of them. There's also some things that you can do both with your free LinkedIn.com account and also with some of our paid services that's going to allow you to proactively source talent. So you can definitely start to get those inbound applications coming through, but you might want to go out and actually look for people, tap them on the shoulder, start talking about your organization, and have the conversation progress from there. So our flagship service is called Recruiter, and that allows you to view all of the profiles on LinkedIn.com, so all 347 million members globally. There are actually some good tips that you can take from your free LinkedIn.com access, but essentially it allows you to have increased access to the network and also reach out using in-mails, which is that kind of tap on the shoulder electronically where you start the communication with people. You're also able to promote your jobs on different social media platforms, including LinkedIn. And we have job slots where you can post information about the roles that you're hiring. LinkedIn actually has an algorithm that sits behind it, where we'll continue to push out suitable roles to those that we think would match the criteria. So when you input your job title, the industry, the function, and the keywords within the job description, LinkedIn will actually start to surface these around the site to people that we think would be suitable. So we're always going to try and promote your jobs to the best candidates. Anyone who's been on LinkedIn.com might start to see on the right-hand side of the screen, the section called Jobs You Might Be Interested in. So you might not be an active candidate, but just on the time that you're spending on LinkedIn.com, you can start to see opportunities being presented to you. So I might be head down doing a good job, not looking for a new role, but I might start to come to LinkedIn.com on a regular basis just to connect with my colleagues and future employees. And then I'll start to see different opportunities. So you can see the engagement levels really increase. So in summary, I know we've covered a lot of information, but I just want to break it down to the basics, and that's that build, engage, recruit model. So there's different aspects of LinkedIn that you can use to do this along with other social media platforms. So really leveraging your employee base and starting with a basic content calendar is going to allow you to start to engage with people. There's obviously the free company page that people can set up, and as you become more confident with the service, there's greater investments that you can take to own career pages and start to push out employee information. And then we also touched on the importance of having that content calendar. So not just going to all the effort of setting this up, but to committing a couple of times a week to push out live content that let people know what it's like to do business and work with you. And finally, you've got that recruit component. So once you've done all the legwork and all the hard work and built your followers and started to engage with them, you can start to push out relevant jobs to them. And you can also use some of our recruiter tools to proactively go out to tap people on the shoulder and really dig deep into that passive talent pool. Before we move to Q&A, I just wanted to give you a bit of a summary. Conscious that we've covered a lot of information today, but I do have 3 tips and main takeaways that I'd love you to take away and sort of review and get comfortable with. So my first one is really to have a plan, not just kind of jump in and not be sure where you want to go. So figure out the end goal and then start to review the channels and see which ones are relevant to you and your business, and also who in the business is comfortable being social, being digital, and having conversations with different candidates. So it might be LinkedIn as a starting point because that's where people go professionally to improve themselves, but you might also want to touch on the different social media channels such as Twitter or Instagram, for example. I mentioned earlier and touched upon the fact that people within your organization have a part to play, so being able to roll this out towards the rest of the business is going to be key, and particularly getting people at senior levels in the business on board has really helped the clients that I've worked with, and having a top-down approach where someone senior explains why the business is moving to social and the part that everybody has to play. So people across the business ensuring that they're comfortable with being social and having LinkedIn.com profiles is a great first step, but also those of you in talent acquisition will be working day in, day out with hiring managers, and if you're recruiting for a particular hiring manager across the business, chances are their network includes the person that you're going to want to hire. So some of my clients start with their hiring managers as a first point, help them get their LinkedIn profile brushed up and really robust and ready to go, and then start to leverage that when you reach out to candidates and encourage them to view the profiles of the hiring managers that they'll be meeting with at the interview stage. My final takeaway, so point number 3, is to really consider both the active and the passive candidate mindset. So as I mentioned, about 20% of the Australia and New Zealand talent pool are active, so actively looking for a role, applying on job boards, sending their CVs in. But if we only focus on those people, we're missing that 78% of people who we see as passive, and that's the one that you're going to want to sort of tap into and start to engage with them. It might be a bit of a slow burn, but they'll definitely be the people that you're building relationships with before you start to engage with them, let them know what it's like to work in your organization, and then reach out when you have a suitable opportunity. Now, we've had a couple of questions that came in pre the session, so I'll just run through some of those ones.
Can I just jump in there, Claire, just for a moment? Just to remind you that if you do have a question that's arisen as a result of Claire's presentation, then don't hesitate to write in using the chat box down there at the left-hand corner of your screen. Thanks, Claire.
Thanks, Alison. One of the questions that came in from Carol was how to record social media interest, e.g. volunteering. Carol, I would definitely recommend taking a look at the structure of the LinkedIn.com profile. Obviously, there's an area where you put your photo, your name, your headline, your employment history, and also your education. But further down, there's areas where you can really build out that profile and have it as a full and rounded view of what you're all about. So there is a volunteer section in there, you'll be pleased to know, so you can start to put any volunteer interests in there. You can also start to join groups. So there may be a group already on LinkedIn.com that's linked to the volunteer work that you do, so becoming a member of that could definitely help to show your interest in those particular areas. And remember, you've also got that summary page at the top, which is where you can really start to explain what you're all about and what you enjoy getting involved in. So I would certainly leverage that to talk not just about your professional experiences and desires, but definitely about the volunteer work as well. Another question that came in from Kath is talking about levels of security, so how to make sure no one else can see any approaches that you make to a possible candidate. This is a question that we get all the time, Kath, so I'm really glad that you asked this. Some people do a lot of work in LinkedIn and want to make sure that they're anonymous. Well, If you're on your LinkedIn.com free profile doing any kinds of searching, you will have to go into your settings, and so just hover over your profile picture on the right-hand side and go into sort of lockdown mode, if you will. If you're using the Recruiter tool, so the paid access into LinkedIn.com to view all of the profiles, you'll have to be very comfortable in knowing everything you do in there in Recruiter is anonymous. So candidates aren't going to know if you're viewing their profiles, and only those people will know that you're emailing them. So it's completely one-to-one, and everything is going to be private there. Another question that came through from Kim was how other companies are currently using social media, which is a very big question and a very great question, and one that I get asked most weeks by most of my clients. What I would recommend is going onto LinkedIn, searching within the companies at the top of the page and having a look at what your competitors are doing. So take a look at the company and career pages of your competitors in general day-to-day business, but also take a look at the pages of your competitors for talent. So think back to the exit interviews or the anecdotal evidence you have within the organization as to where you lose employees to, and see what those kinds of companies are doing online and on social, and see how they're attracting talent. So you can definitely get some good insights by seeing what other people are doing, particularly your competitor base on LinkedIn.com. Another question came through about advertising jobs, and if a company is looking to expand internationally, are they able to post international jobs for certain countries? That is absolutely possible if you purchase one of our job slots on LinkedIn.com. So there is the ability to target that role to particular people wherever you like across the globe, simply by inputting the location where the role is going to be based. So yep, absolutely, if a company is looking to expand outside of our region, you can post international opportunities for any country that you choose.
Thanks, Claire. We also had another question which I put earlier to Paul Munro, our employment relations expert. This one was a question from Marie, who asked, are we legally allowed to use information on Facebook either prior to recruitment of potential employees or for existing employees? And she gave us the example of employee A calls in sick, that employee B, who has Facebook contact with employee A, finds that A has gone camping for an extended long weekend. So Paul's response for that was, while it's not illegal to look at a job applicant's Facebook profile, the Fair Work Act has the general protections provisions, and they prevent an employer from taking adverse action against prospective employees, that means such as not hiring them, where the grounds are based on discrimination. So this is, for example, if the employer is able to determine from the person's Facebook profile their race, their religion, political opinion, sex, marital status, etc., all the various grounds. If the employer then does not offer employment to a person based on any of those reasons, then that person could actually make an application to the Federal Circuit Court and claim that there's been a breach of the Fair Work Act. Also, if you're an employer of choice, then if that's how you're seeking to position yourself, then they often have terms in their recruitment policy that actually do advise people with recruiting responsibilities not to look at Facebook profiles prior to an interview, trying to be as non-biased as possible. So apart from attempting to avoid possible general protections claims, a person's social activities outside of work should not influence the interviewer's view of the applicant. Now, in the case of existing employees, the person going off on the camping trip when they're calling in sick, well, this is looking at unfair dismissal, and the Fair Work Commission is of the view that a Facebook posting, which was initially undertaken outside working hours, does not stop once work recommences. It remains on Facebook until removed for anyone with permission to access the site to see. So the Commission has determined that the principle to apply in the case of Facebook entries is similar to the principle which is applied to out-of-hours conduct. That is, the conduct must be relevant to the employee's employment relationship. So evidence on an employee's Facebook page could be used by an employer to refute an employee's claim they were ill on that working day. And while this case was not in relating to Facebook in particular, the Federal Circuit Court has found in the past that an employee who produced a medical certificate as proof of illness was not unlawfully dismissed because it was found out that the temporary absence from work, which was supposedly due to illness, in fact, the employee had been at a football match on that day. Now, we have had a few more questions come in. Claire, are you able to
absolutely
answer those?
Chad's asked a great question, and again, one that we get asked by a lot of our industrial clients. He's mentioned that his company recruits mainly for apprentices and trainees, so at that entry level, and does LinkedIn cater for these types of candidates. I think, interestingly, we've seen our largest growth areas in A, the student sector, and B, the blue-collar worker sector. And I think that's mainly due to the advent of mobile and LinkedIn having mobile access, so you don't have to be at a laptop or at your computer to go onto LinkedIn, set up a profile and find out about new opportunities. So those areas are growing, and we definitely find ourselves talking a lot more to people at that entry level and trainee roles. So we're seeing clients with some definite success stories advertising in those particular areas, mainly at the moment using it as supplementary to their existing talent acquisition channels. But absolutely some great research that's come out. And I think just on a personal note, going into the university pages on LinkedIn, I wish something like that had been available when I popped into my career office at university and tried to figure out what I was going to do with my life. So just hopping onto LinkedIn and finding out what career paths are available to people at certain universities is really handy. There's some great filters in LinkedIn where you can also filter for potential candidates through our member base based on their level of experience. So being able to look at entry level and trainee peoples is a filter that you can do when you're searching on LinkedIn. LinkedIn, interestingly, is going to reach its mobile moment probably in 2015. So we do anticipate that more than 50% of our page views are going to come from mobile devices, which is so exciting for somebody who's not in a traditional white-collar office job, to be able to access the service and really start to see success with progressing their own career and improving themselves. Patrick has asked whether LinkedIn is a replacement for traditional recruitment methods. I really see most companies having a really varied and interesting talent acquisition process. So they will be leveraging different channels, and I see LinkedIn as being one of those channels. We understand that talent acquisition teams have so many tools available to them for tracking candidates and attracting candidates, and definitely LinkedIn as being supportive of those is where we see it positioned. Michelle has asked about the algorithm that sits behind the jobs you might be interested post. Really interesting question. I'd love to have one of our product engineers from the US here to answer a little bit more, but I believe that sort of algorithm or the secret sauce definitely focuses on the job title that you have on LinkedIn at the moment, and also the industry and function that you've positioned yourselves, and likely also referring down to the keywords that you have within your profile. So all of that is going to help really tailor those roles to you. If none of them think, if you look at the jobs you might be interested in section and they're not suitable, you can actually just X out at the top right hand corner, and the LinkedIn algorithm will hopefully start to understand a little bit more about what you're looking for. If you are proactively looking for roles, and there's also a weekly job email that goes out to suitable candidates. So as well as being consistently presented throughout LinkedIn.com with opportunities, candidates can also opt into a job email alert where they'll be presented with, on a weekly basis, roles that might be suitable for them.
Thank you, Claire. Thank you very much. That brings us to the end of our discussion. Meanwhile, we hope you found today's session to be useful. Please feel free to drop us a line at this email address, editor@workplaceinfo.com.au, if you have any follow-up questions, and make sure you log on to Workplace Info and Workplace OHS for the latest info on compliance and best practices for HR, IR and work safety professionals. If you want to revisit some of today's presentation, we will be publishing it shortly on our YouTube channel for you to watch and listen to at your leisure, and the URL will be included in our follow-up correspondence. Keep an eye on your email inbox for info on our upcoming webinars, which include self-insuring for workers' compensation on the 18th of March and best practice induction training on the 15th of April. Thanks for your time and best of luck with your work.